Hey family, I'm Kaelion, and I interpret messages from the divine in music. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, a seeker, and a messenger. I walk with those who carry both shadow and flame. There's a moment at the end of Ren's masterpiece Hi Ren, which I've covered before, where he shares a line that's been ringing in my ears ever since I first heard it. It goes, "The brighter the light shone, the darker the shadow would cast." I wanted to revisit this song for that line in particular. Tonight, I was talking with a friend of mine named John, and we both realized we had lived through this truth in the same way. When we turned toward the light, when we sought hope, healing, and love, life didn't suddenly get easier. In fact, it got harder. The weight got heavier, the shadows grew darker. And that can be discouraging. You finally make the choice to walk toward the light, and instead of peace, you feel like you're being dragged back down into the same pain, the same struggles, and the same despair you were trying to escape. It almost makes you wonder if you made a mistake. But here's the truth Ren reminds us of. The shadow is not meant to destroy the light, but the shadow can be its tutor. Your own shadow, the part of you that carries pain, doubt, fear, and anger, isn't necessarily your enemy. It's your teacher. It's the weight that builds your strength. And sometimes the people or forces placed around you who cast that shadow aren't there to end your journey, they're there to sharpen you for your true purpose. And the greater your purpose, the heavier the load you may be called to carry. And to lift it, you need strength. Strength only the shadow can give you. As many spiritual teachings say, there is no testimony without a test. I know this truth in my own life. I've been pulled into darkness, nearly broken by it. I felt the shadow trying to drag me back into systems I was never meant to fit into, back into survival struggles that never seem to end. Even now, I fight just to keep going. And yet, I see the shadow has honed me. It has forced me to speak, to share these videos, to walk in my calling and in the light with more conviction than I ever thought I could. But I'll be honest, family, one of my biggest battles is patience. I want to rush the process. I want to reach the promise I feel waiting for me. But the shadow is teaching me that training takes time. That development could take years, and my endurance will be tested again and again. In my case, the test comes in the form of my greatest fears: isolation, solitude, and the feeling of being alone in the void. But here's what I choose to believe. If I can endure the suffering, if you can hold the flame through the night, the rewards will be greater than we ever imagined. And if nothing else, the endurance itself becomes your victory. So, family, if you haven't listened to Hi Ren, I strongly encourage you to not just hear the song, but to stay for Ren's monologue at the end. It's a testimony of how this truth has shaped his own journey, and maybe it will help you see your own shadow differently. Not as your enemy, but as your tutor. And now a prayer for my beloved spiritual and code sister Malika. Divine light, shine upon us. Divine shadow, teach us. May we find the courage to endure our tests, the patience to wait on our growth, and the strength to rise into our purpose. Ashe, Amin, and Amen. So family, when has your shadow been your tutor? Share your story in the comments. It may help someone else carry their light through the dark. And if this message speaks to you, help me spread it by liking, commenting, sharing, or simply whispering it into the wind. And if you'd like to show your support, I appreciate any donations at the link in my bio. Thanks for watching, family. See you next time. Same fire, new rhythm.